All right, OLR exclusive fans, we are live with actor, wrestler, Monique Dupree. How are you doing today?
I'm okay. Just a little hectic, but otherwise, I'm good.
Yeah, well, we had each other on Facebook for a while there, and I can tell your life is very, very busy.
Yeah, that's an understatement. We just had a wrestling show last night, so I was literally just walking in from doing all of that. All the wrap up and everything after a show. It's still pretty hectic even after the show itself.
Oh yeah, especially House of Hardcore, But I have to ask before we jump ahead, what made you decide to get into the wrestling business?
Well, I have always loved the wrestling business as a fan. Um, I'm not going to say I never thought about getting into it because, I thought as an entertainer, I might be able to try my hand at being like, Miss Elizabeth or even maybe being a sensational Sherry of sorts, because I always loved, those are like two of my favorite characters. And my daughter wanted to get into wrestling, so that was pretty much how I got into wrestling was in the midst of trying to introduce her to wrestling because I was already in entertainment. Uh, and Tommy Dreamer was the one that gave me a shot at doing balleting in his brand new company at the time, and then included my daughter. That was the start of everything wrestling related for me.
And I have to ask this as well. As some might already know, you're an actor. What made you decide to get into acting in movies?
Well, I feel like, I don't say this negatively, but I didn't have a choice in the matter there. That was something that I feel like I was born to entertain. This has always been something that kind of it chose me. It's been in my system for as long as I can remember. I've been entertaining. I used to entertain my family all the time. It's just that I moved to a bigger platform when I started doing movies. My first one being I was just like 13, 14 years old when I did my first bit part in a movie. And that's when I knew for sure that, hey, this is what I need to do with the rest of my life. So I've been doing it now for 30 years.
Wow. And one of the movies you were in is a very, very famous movie. One of my favorites as well. You worked alongside Denzel Washington in American Gangster. What was that experience like, and how did you land that role? And what was Denzel like as a person?
I never got to meet Denzel, unfortunately. I got to work with Russell Crowe
That's
for
pretty
our
good.
scenes at that. Yeah, well, I love the fact that I was able to do such work in such a powerful movie in and of itself. He was supposed to be on set that day, but I don't know what happened where they had to switch some stuff around. It didn't matter to me. I was just happy that I was there. I wasn't even looking to go and meet anybody. Uh, Russell Crowe was very funny because, like, some of the scenes that we had to shoot, my afro was kind of too high, and it like covered his face in a couple of the frames. So we had to shuffle everybody around, and he was making jokes about my afro, which was pretty cool. He came off as a pretty cool guy, about his work. When I'm on set, a lot of the times, especially in the beginning when I was doing movies like that, I don't talk to people very much. I stay to myself and I watch everything because I feel like I learn from watching. So I don't get too involved in anything. I just watch people and I learn from what I watch, and then I hopefully grow with the next role that I do.
And that's the best way to do it. Sometimes if you just sit back and watch and be that third eye view, you can learn, you can digest a lot more information.
Absolutely. A lot of people try to go for the, oh, I want to meet, this celebrity, or oh, I want to talk to this person. When I'm there, I just want to do the best that I can do, and I want to learn from people that I feel like are the best, or people that have been doing this for a long time. And the only way that you could do that is just, be humble, again, watch, learn. If you have the opportunity to ask questions, but don't interject yourself into things. So he made conversation with me in between the time that we were switching stuff with sets, and it was very short conversation. But from that, I gained that he was a pretty funny person, and he wasn't afraid to, come up to anybody. Because who was I? I'm not a name or anything like that. I'm just, a character there, a person there. I just got the call that they needed some people, and I needed to get fitted to find out if I would even be able to do this. And I went and got fitted. I got paid for getting fitted for the roles. That was a whole great experience. I loved the whole thing.
So I have to ask this before we move along on your movie career. You said you had 30 plus years in acting. What's your favorite role that you have done, or a few of your favorite roles?
Well, I have two, probably two that nobody's ever heard of. My first one would be Bachelor Party in a Bungalow of the Damned. It is a very indie horror flick, which I love horror and I love comedy, but I particularly grew up in the horror genre. That was my favorite role to do. It was a supporting character, and she was a vampire posing as a stripper. So she was already a vampire, just pretending to be a regular old stripper. And I had to sit in 10 hours of makeup. That's when I learned that I have a love of special effects, and I can sit in a makeup chair for 5, 10, 15 hours if I have to. I love that. I love that transition, and I have the patience to do that. So that is my first favorite. My second would be Shadowhunters Devil Speak, which is available on Amazon to view if you have Prime. And it is a horror sci-fi short that I directed. Tommy Dreamer starred in it, and I have a small role in it because, I was the director. I did some production on it. It was my baby, so to speak. And even though I didn't do a lot of acting in it, I liked the part that I had. Plus, I just liked the whole film as a whole because it was my directorial debut.
That's actually pretty awesome. I didn't know you were a director. What made you decide to start directing?
Well, I've only directed that one so far. I would love to do more. I like to try my hand at things to see what I can and can't do. I try not to ever say I can't do this. So I go, I'm doing all of this production work. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. Why don't I try my hand at directing? I've always, and people don't see it as the same, but I do. I used to have a YouTube. I still have a YouTube channel, but on my YouTube channel, I used to, when I travel, my favorite pastime was I would record videos. I would do choreography, dress up, do everything for like a music video that's of a song that's already out. I would direct it. I would edit it. I would, shoot all of the scenes. I did everything, and then I would post it. And people will go, wow, this is awesome. How long did it take you to do this? And I'm like, a day. It was just something that I wanted to see. Can I edit things together nicely? Can I make it go seamlessly? Does it make sense? Does it tell a story? So I was doing that with music videos already, and they're all available on my YouTube channel, except for the Beyonce song I did because of her. It's her song, so they won't allow me to post it anywhere but Vimeo. And I just felt like I could do it on a grander scale, but I didn't want to start off with a whole movie, so I did a short.
Okay.
And I like it, but I just feel like if I'm going to do it, I don't want to act in it, and I don't want to produce it. I just want to direct it so I can focus my time and energy on the directing itself.
Okay. So if you could provide us, what is your YouTube URL? That way our listeners can check those out if they haven't already.
It's the same as everything else. The Original Gata. THA Original Gata.
Okay, sweet.
And I only have about 5,000 subscribers or so at the moment because I haven't been back on it too often. But I have a catalog of videos, including, my children, and I try to implement things with them in it whenever I can. And some of my silly stuff because, again, I love comedy. I think that comedy heals people.
It does, actually, it does. Like the joy of laughter, it takes you away from your current situations.
Absolutely.
So back to your wrestling career, I've noticed that you've been doing a lot of work with TNA, also now known as Impact Wrestling. How and when did you start working with that company?
Well, I would say officially, I don't work for them. I don't know. I feel like Tommy says the same thing, but it just really started off where I was traveling with Tommy Dreamer to the shows. I mean, we used to go to the shows when they were known as TNA, myself and my daughter. We used to go as fans. But later on, like as I started doing more stuff with Tommy because I travel with him a lot. So I traveled to a lot of the Impact tapings. And, then one day they were just like, Monique, do you have this dress? Can you, go out with Moose? And I was like, sure. And then the next time it was, Monique, can you do this segment over here with Moose? So it's like, I'm there. I've done some backstage stuff for them where I filmed, some post-match stuff. I love, again, if I'm going to be there and I love wrestling, I make myself available. So I've been working with them in a sense where I feel like I'm learning stuff, and I always want to grow. And I love the company that I work for, House of Hardcore, which I exclusively work for unless I am working something else with Dreamer. That is the only time that I venture out because then I have his permission because I don't want to go out of contract or anything like that. But as long as I'm with him, I'm good. So I've worked for some other indie companies, but I enjoyed, or I've been enjoying the small things that I've been doing in Impact. And again, a lot of stuff is behind the scenes. That's why I use the hashtag behind the scenes queen, because a lot of the stuff that I do, nobody would ever know. They just see me there and they're like, okay, she's here. And sometimes I go out, but I'm finding a new love in production with wrestling in and of itself.
And speaking of a love for wrestling, this next question, I have to say, I grew up loving Tommy Dreamer and ECW. So I have to ask, you were very close with Tommy Dreamer. How did you and him initially get connected? What's the story behind that?
That would be at a WrestleMania. I think that was 2011 in Atlanta, Georgia. I was taking my daughter to a WrestleMania in ATL, and we went to this. They used to have something called bicep bagels and brunch or something to that effect, and they just ended up turning it into a luncheon. So, like every WrestleMania, they would have a luncheon where wrestlers can sit down with wrestling fans and eat together and have a guest speaker. Well, that is where we met him during one of those things. My daughter wanted to sit next to Christy Hemme, and Bruno Sammartino was the guest speaker, so we got to hear him talk about his life and how he came up, which was pretty freaking amazing to me. And Dreamer was one of the people that was there in the room. And, after you eat, you just go and you meet everybody. And my daughter wanted a picture with him, and then we just started chatting. And this was before his company, obviously. And after WrestleMania, we were just chatting more. He saw my love of professional wrestling, my daughter's love of professional wrestling, as fans. And then he invited us to his first show, which was 2012, when he started House of Hardcore. I was pregnant at the time. But when I came to the show, it took me back to the days that I was glued to the TV as a fan, and I didn't want to move until a commercial came on. That's the days that I missed, and that first House of Hardcore show gave me that spark. And like we just got closer and closer. Like he asked me what I thought. By the second show, I was working it as a valet. And the third show and the fourth show, my daughter got introduced. And then by like the fifth show, I was helping backstage and working as a valet. Now I run social media. I help backstage. I do 50% of the stuff. I mean, he does half. I do the other half. And I just pretty much help him run everything. His podcast, I help him run his podcast. I do social media for it. But I do that stuff, and I started out doing that stuff because I truly believe in what House of Hardcore has to offer as a wrestling promotion. And I truly believe in the no politics, no BS, just wrestling. Some people say stuff and they talk the big talk, but Dreamer actually believes that, and he tries his best not to involve, you know, any BS in his company, any politics. But as you know, politics will follow you wherever you go, even if you don't want it there.
And that is most definitely true. And before we get off the topic of Tommy Dreamer, I actually met both of you guys. I would say I think it was last year in Napanee at the barbershop.
Yes.
I don't know if you remember, but I was that big white kid that was like just staring at Dreamer, and you actually walked up and tapped my shoulder and was like, "It's okay, hon, you can walk up to him."
Yes.
when I was younger, I was a really huge Tommy Dreamer fan. So when I first got there, I'm like, "Oh, I get to meet Tommy Dreamer. It's nothing. It's cool." Then I see the man, and I'm just like, "Oh God, that's the man that threw that dude off the scaffold. That's Tommy Dreamer." I'm just like, "Oh shit." I think like my wife was like, "Are you okay?" And then I remember you walked up to me and you're like, "It's okay. You can walk up to him." Like you snapped me out of that weird staring trance.
Yeah, I mean, I see it sometimes, and I also feel like I've watched a couple of times where people have missed opportunities, and we just never know what life is going to throw us. And I didn't want you to miss your opportunity to say whatever you wanted to say to the man who was just so close to you. And I've missed opportunities in the past, so when I see that, I don't want that to happen. So I wanted you to know that it was okay to just go say hello or walk up to him. But I do understand the not so much starstruck as when there's somebody that's had an influence on you in some kind of way. Sometimes when you see them in person, it does something. Yeah. That's similar to being starstruck, but it's just like, holy crap, this person is right here, and I had so much I wanted to say, but now they're right here, and it just turns into staring because I've done it.
Yeah, like for instance with Tommy Dreamer, when I was younger, when he was in ECW, the whole like how he first started in ECW, everyone was like, "You're young, you're not gonna make it, you're blah 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 blah." The whole storyline. He pretty much, when I was younger, taught me, you want something, you got to fight for it. When he got the whole kendo stick in the head, I think it was like 15 times in the back, and he's like, "May I have another?" I was like, right there. That's a boss. Like, he taught me how to fight for what you want. You know what I mean? Don't let someone tell you can't. That's what Tommy was to me. So the fact that I got to meet him was awesome, and thank you for snapping me out of that whole staring trance.
No problem. And do you know he still teaches that to this day in other ways and other things that he does. Like I used to tell him all the time that people look at me and they just see like boobs and this chick, but they don't see what I have to offer between my ears. And he started seeing that I was just more than that, and started giving me more and more responsibility. And one day I said, "Why would you give me all of this responsibility? Because if I fail, it hurts your company." And he was like, "But you haven't failed me yet, and I see your potential, and I don't give you any more than I know you could accomplish. You're very, very intelligent, and a lot of people don't see that. So, I wanted to give you that opportunity because I see it." And that just made me, like, I damn near cried because that meant so much to me that he saw potential and what I can do. And because of him doing that, I get so many different people now that, do you want to produce this, or are you interested in this, or are you interested in that? And some people have no idea. They just think I'm this weird girl roaming, the wrestling shows without rhyme or reason. But there's always a reason why I'm at any wrestling show. I haven't been able to just go as a fan in years, other than the times that Tommy went back to WWE and I was in the audience because he was there.
Yeah.
I still get to be a fan, but I have to work. But I love what I do as well. But I love being behind the scenes, and I love doing stuff that nobody knows that I'm doing. It makes me feel really, really good, and I know that I'm contributing to a great show happening, and that's all that I need. And he gave me that opportunity, and he made me start feeling better about myself by the choices that he made, and I'm forever grateful for that. That's why I live and die by HOH, seriously.
And speaking of HOH, House of Hardcore, last night you guys put on a show. I already can know that it's most definitely a hardcore, edge of your seat show. But what was that experience like, and what was the outcome of the show?
Well, I'm not sure what you mean by outcome, but I'll tell you that it's always, when we go back to the 2300 arena, it's always a magical experience. I've never got to go there live as a kid or growing up because my family could not afford to take me there. So the first time that I got to actually work a show there, it was like when singers want to go to the Apollo, or like, these shows, these talent shows. It was just the energy was so amazing. Last night was no different. It's just always something new. He always puts on a great show. We had a huge roster. We just had people from all over the place, from AEW, from Impact Wrestling, and he mixes it with, veterans and people that have yet to be discovered. Like, he likes to have the whole mixture, not, I just want to pack my show with people, with a bunch of celebrities. He wants to put on a show to show that you can get together as wrestling fans and as wrestling talent, regardless to what company you belong to or whatever, and put on a hell of a show. And that's what everybody did yesterday. They put on a hell of a show, and you had to be there to see it. I mean, I tried to post clips when I could, and I'm going to be posting more stuff today because I run social media for House of Hardcore. But it was amazing last night. It was pretty electric, dare I say.
So I have to ask, what is next for Monique Dupree? Like, what's next on your agenda?
That is a great question that I may not have the answer to. I have more in 2020. I just want to get more hands-on with behind-the-scenes creative ideas and things of that nature to try to help grow HOH as much as possible, if possible. And so I'd love to be involved more with that. It is a headache, but it's also, so when you see everything come together, it's just the most amazing feeling. I'm also doing more acting again next year because I was on hiatus because it's hard to dedicate your emotional time to being a full-time actress and you running shows like this. It's nearly impossible, and I don't want to skimp. I want to give my all to something. But I will be doing more acting next year. I have quite a few projects that I'm signing on to or have signed on to already that I'll be able to announce closer to the end of the year. So I think for the most part, it's going to be more wrestling stuff. Also, the video game, Retrosoft Studios, is releasing a House of Hardcore old school throwback video game next year. available. So far, I believe it's going to be on all of the systems, the consoles. And I just found out a couple of days ago that I'm going to be in the video game. So I look forward to traveling around and promoting the video game. I'm wearing the shirt of me and Dreamer right now, the cartoon caricature of me and Dreamer for RetroSoft Studios as we speak. So I'm looking forward to that. That's one of the big things that I'll be working on next year.
That sounds amazing, actually. I'm not gonna lie to you. I actually sold my Xbox about 2 months ago, so when that game comes out, I'm gonna have to rebuy an Xbox because I heard the rumors of a House of Hardcore video game, but you know how a lot of YouTube channels they make fake videos and it's just
Right.
so I didn't know it was legit. But now that I heard it from someone on the inside, all right, I'm gonna have to run to GameStop get myself an Xbox.
Yes, it is absolutely legit. And we've been, RetroSoft Studios was at House of Hardcore show yesterday so that people can play demos. And we just had a constant run of people there, including two of my sons who was beating people at the video game when they just got there to learn it themselves. But that they were so enthralled with what was going on, and they're usually big, WWE wrestling games. That game, I don't play it that much. I like old school games. That's why this is so perfect for me. So you can follow RetroSoft Studios on Instagram, and I believe they have a Twitter as well. And you'll see all of the information, but I'll be posting more of it from our House of Hardcore page as well. So just watch out for it. I believe it's the spring of next year, but it's definitely next year.
That actually sounds amazing. I'm gonna most definitely gonna be hitting up GameStop, getting an Xbox, getting that game, and all of our listeners, you better get that game as well. Support Tommy, play as Monique Dupree. Have her kick some wrestling ass. Um, so I have to ask this. This is the time in the interview that I give the chance for the person that comes on the show a chance to give shout outs to the people whomever they want to give shout outs to, and also their social media handles. That way people can follow you if they're not already doing that.
Okay, well first I'll get those formalities out of the way. You can follow me on all of my social media across the board at The Original Gata, THA Original Gata. I have a verified check mark, so that's how you know if you got the right person that you're following. If all else fails, you could just Google Monique Dupree and all my social media comes up. But you can also follow House of Hardcore, same thing. House of Hardcore all across the board, except for Snapchat for House of Hardcore is HOH Wrestling. I always post stuff there as well for House of Hardcore. My shout-outs are always the same, so it might seem boring. I first and foremost always shout out my children because without them, I would not have had the strength to push on as an actor because they're the ones that told me that this is what I was destined to do, and they don't want me to be a stay-at-home mom. They wanted me to go out there. I have to shout out my brother, Tony Todd, who always keeps it 100% with me, who always keeps things level. We support each other. We show one another love, both in real life and online, because it's important to keep that positivity going, because you know how negative social media could be.
Oh, yeah.
And last but not least, I always sing the praises of Tommy Dreamer, but that is because those phrases are very well earned. I thank him for changing my life and changing my family's life and opening my eyes to a whole new world for me and something that I actually feel good about and something that I actually feel good at. And it's something that's a subject in which I love, which is professional wrestling. So I have to say, if you ever listen to this, Dreamer, thank you so much. I love you for that, and I will always be by your side to fight the battle as a HOH soldier and help you take it wherever you want to take it. I got your back always. Thank you for having mine.
Monique, thank you so much for coming up on OLR Exclusive. It was an absolute honor and a privilege to interview you. And again, like I said, middle of the interview, thank you again for snapping me out of that trance so I could meet Dreamer. I appreciate that, folks.
No worries. Anytime.
You have yourself a wonderful day, and hopefully down the road we get to meet in person again soon.
I'm sure that'll happen.